I was only 16 when I gave my heart to a Maasai warrior under the acacia tree. I thought it was love. I didn't know it would curse my whole family and haunt me for the rest of my life. I'm Nanyu. I come from a small village near the base of the Loita Hills in Kenya. My father is a respected elder, a herder of many cattle. My mother weaves beadwork, the kind worn only during ceremonies. I used to be like any other girl in our boma, quiet, obedient, promised. I was 16 seasons old when it happened. Back then, I wore the blue and white beads of a promised girl. Blue for loyalty, white for purity. My father had already accepted cows from Ol Miingat, a wealthy man, older than my father. Everyone said it was a good match, but I didn't want him. I wanted Saitoti. He was a young Moran just back from the bush.
Tall, proud.
He wore his red shuka wrapped tight, his chest bare, the lion mane headdress still fresh with ochre. He had scars on his arm from the warrior trials. He was not from my age group, not from my clan. That made it wrong, dangerous. But I didn't care. We met under the acacia tree near the dried riverbed. It was a quiet place, hidden by thick brush and thorn bushes. At night, the hyenas cried from far off. Sometimes, we'd sit close and talk in whispers while the moonlight filtered through the thorns above. He'd bring me small gifts, an earring made from cow bone, a leather strap he carved with my name. I gave him a strand of my beads once, red and black. He tied it around his spear. We thought no one knew. We were wrong. One night, as we sat under the tree, we heard a sound, branches snapping, fast footsteps, then a voice. Nanyu. It was my brother, Lamayan. Behind him were 3 other warriors. They dragged Saitoti up by his shuka and beat him. I screamed, but no one helped. Lamayan shouted, "You shame us. You shame the family." Saitoti didn't scream. He just stared at me while the others held him down. They didn't kill him, but they stripped him of his shuka. They cut the red beads from his hair. Then they left him in the bush.
Me?
They took me home. My mother slapped me. My father didn't speak to me for days. I wasn't allowed to leave the hut. They burned the gifts Saitoti gave me in front of the elders. The smell of burning leather and bones stayed in my nose for days. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part came later. I started to hear things at night.
Drums.
Not our normal drums. These were slower, hollow, like someone hitting a gourd from under the ground. I thought I was dreaming. Then I saw something. It looked like Saitoti standing by the acacia tree. But his body was wrong. His legs were too long. His face was covered in dust, and his eyes were black like charcoal.
He didn't speak, just pointed at me.
I ran back to the boma, but the next night he came again. Closer. I told the old woman Nulmosii. She was once a healer before her eyes went bad. She said, "That's not Saitoti. That's the ultimate spirit of broken promises." She gave me a gourd with herbs and a necklace made from black beads and goat hair. "When you see it again, throw this in the fire. If it screams, it's not your lover." That night, I stayed awake with hot coals in a pot. It came again. This time it entered the boma. I smelled dust before I saw it. It crouched by the door of my hut, breathing like a bull. I threw the herbs into the fire. The thing screamed, a sound like metal grinding on bone. Then it vanished in a burst of dust. I passed out. When I woke up, the acacia bracelet I gave Saitoti was lying on my chest. I don't know if he's alive. No one speaks of him. But I never went back to that tree. And when the wind howls through the boma at night, and I hear someone whisper my name, I hold the black beads, and I don't answer. After that night, everything changed. People in the village began whispering, not about me, but about the animals. 3 goats were found dead, their eyes missing. No blood, just stiff bodies and tiny black stones placed where their hearts should be. One of the herders said he saw something at the edge of the grazing fields. Something walking like a man, but too tall. He said it had a red shuka, torn and blowing in the wind, but there was no wind that day. I knew it was Saitoti's shuka. I didn't tell anyone. I just stayed quiet and wore the black bead necklace Nolmosii gave me. I kept it hidden under my clothing. I even stopped speaking to my own mother. Every night, I lit a fire and slept near the embers, afraid of the dark. But one night, the firewood ran out. I asked Lamayan to go fetch some.
He refused.
He was still angry at me. So, I wet myself. I walked past the cattle enclosure, the air cold and still. The moon was only a sliver. Everything looked like shadows. I got to the edge of the bush, where we stored dry branches. Then I saw it. The thing was crouching beside the woodpile. Its back was to me, but I could see the red shuka hanging off one shoulder. Its arms were too long. The skin on its back looked like cracked earth. I froze. It slowly turned. Not with its feet. Its whole body twisted, like a lizard turning its head. It had Saitoti's face. But the eyes were just holes. Like someone had scooped them out. Then it spoke. But not with a mouth. It sounded like Saitoti's voice coming from inside my own head. You promised. I couldn't scream. I dropped the bundle of sticks and ran. Ran so fast my feet bled from the thorns. I burst into Nolmosii's hut and collapsed. She didn't ask what happened. She just locked the door, took out red ochre powder, and started drawing symbols around me. She said, "You kept a bond, but now you must break it, or it will take you." "What bond?" I cried. "I didn't do anything." "You gave him your beads," she said. "That is a Maasai woman's vow." That's when I remembered the strand I gave him under the acacia tree. Red and black. It was still tied to his spear when they beat him. The spirit had it. That's why it kept coming. That night, Nolmosii told me we would go to the tree one last time. At midnight, she prepared a small gourd with ash, goat blood, and crushed herbs. She told me to carry a white cloth with blue beads tied to each corner. We walked in silence. Even the hyenas didn't howl that night. When we got there, I saw the thing waiting. It stood under the tree, holding a spear. My beads still tied to it. It didn't move, didn't speak, just stared. Nolmosii told me, "Kneel, break the bond."
So I did.
I untied a blue strand from my hair, whispered his name. Then I threw the blue beads and the cloth onto the ground. The spirit stepped forward. It reached out, slowly, like it wanted to touch me. Then the gourd in Nolmosii's hand burst. Flames shot up. The spirit shrieked, like every bird in the forest was screaming at once. It dropped the spear, fell to its knees, then crumbled like dust.
Gone.
I never saw it again, but I kept one of the blue beads it dropped. I wear it on my ankle, hidden, as a reminder, because when Maasai girls give their hearts, even in secret, something always comes to collect. It had been months since the fire under the acacia tree. The rains had come. The land was green again. Calves were being born, and the village had slowly returned to peace. But I hadn't. I still dreamed of the voice. You promised. I told myself it was over. That Nolmosii's ritual had worked. That Saitoti's spirit was gone. But deep down, I knew it hadn't ended. Because of the blue bead. The one I kept tied around my ankle, hidden under my lesso cloth. I told myself it was for protection. But maybe I just couldn't let go. One night, during a women's dance near the cattle kraal, I twisted my foot. Hard. The bead snapped off. It rolled away into the dust. I limped after it. But before I could pick it up, a small hand grabbed it. It was my little cousin, Enkaina. She laughed and said, "Pretty color," then ran off. I didn't think much of it. Until the next day. Enkaina didn't come home. We searched everywhere. The elders blamed a lion. But I knew better. I went to Nolmosii again. She looked older, thinner. Her hut smelled like herbs and firewood. When I told her what happened, she didn't speak for a long time. Then she said, "You never bury what calls the dead." She took out a gourd with red clay and smeared it on my forehead. "You must finish what you started."
So I went back.
Alone. To the tree. There was no moon. Just the sound of wind in the dry grass. The acacia looked different. Bigger. As if it had grown since the last time. I stood under its twisted branches and called her name. Enkaina. Nothing. Then I saw movement. A shadow, small and quick. It was her. She stepped out from behind the trunk, but her face was strange. Empty. Her eyes were pale. Her hands hung loose at her sides. I ran to her, but she didn't move, just stared. Then she opened her mouth. But it wasn't her voice that came out. It was Saitoti's. "You kept a piece of me." The tree groaned. Its bark started to split, and I saw something pushing from the inside. A face. His face. The spirit wasn't gone, it had just moved. Into the tree. Into the bead. Into her. I dropped to my knees and begged, "Take me instead." Silence. Then Enkina blinked. Her lips trembled. She whispered, "He's cold." I reached into my pouch and took the last thing Nulmosii gave me, an old tooth carved with fire symbols, from a lion that had once protected the village. I held it up and shouted his name. Saitoti, son of Lekimp. I break the bond. The wind screamed. The branches cracked. Enkina collapsed. And the tree bled. Thick, dark sap poured down the trunk, soaking the roots. It smelled like old blood and dust. I grabbed her and ran. We never went back. That tree still stands.
Dry.
Blackened. The elders say no birds land on it. And sometimes, when the wind is strong, you can hear footsteps circling its base. I still wear the lion tooth around my neck. Not as a necklace, as a warning. Because love can call the dead. And secrets under the acacia never stay buried.